The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
It's right about time again to swerve again, confuse the general fans again.
What's up, everyone? This is Sharia. You can catch my Impact Wrestling reviews every week on the brand, and you don't want to miss them.
Hello brand members and heads, I am Chantal and you come to me every weekend, only on the weekend feature, because there's any great other points like Miss Chantal and
How can this show be so awful, Mr. McMahon? I didn't think it was.
Viagra on a pole match. And Hogan, you big bald son of a bitch, kiss my ass. Judy Bagwell on a forklift match. McMahon, the family, the Rock, they screwed us all.
Now you're the editor, right?
Mankind did it. Jumpy, beep. Goldberg steered Russo out of the cage.
I'm from New York.
I'll get downright nasty.
This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of The Swerve on Podcast One, and this is my first official interview on the network. We've had a couple of shows, but this is the first interview. The Swerve is my weekly interview show. And when I knew I was coming on Podcast One, there was one person I wanted to have on the show. And listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I feel funny about calling in favors. I don't like to do that, but this was special for me, and I wanted the first show to be special, and I wanted to call the one guy that I have said on the record, and I have told him personally, to me, in my 25 years in the wrestling business, this was the all-around greatest performer that I ever had the privilege of working with. The one and only HBK, Shawn Michaels. Shawn, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Vince. I appreciate you having me, and obviously, thrilled to be your first guy. And as always, I appreciate you saying such nice things about me. And I hope I'm thrilled you're on Podcast One. I'm thrilled you got your new gig. I I've always liked you, and I had great times with you. So again, I'm excited about your future here at Podcast One. I think you're going to do great.
Now, sure, I'm really impressed by the fact I know you're not technically savvy. I can tell that by following you on Twitter and the little conversations we had. But I said to myself, by God, if I can get Bob Backlund on Skype, I can get Shawn Michaels on Skype. And here you are, bro. We're looking at each other thousands of miles away from each other.
Yeah, well, it took a little doing. Right now it looks pretty, but this is about a fourth try. My son had to come over to help me. He's the one that downloaded it for me. But, the social media stuff, I've gotten pretty darn good at that, but still, if it leaves my phone, I don't do any, I can do most of it on the phone, but I got to get on one of the laptop things. That's when I start to fall apart again.
Yeah, but Shawn, the old school is still coming through, because here you are on my first show, Podcast One, and it seems to me like you got the dip in. I remember Shawn was always with the dip when he wasn't on camera, so you're still going old school dip.
Yeah, well, no, now the thing is, I haven't chewed in 2 years, strangely enough, and they're actually one of our sponsors now of my hunting show, Smoky Mountain Herbal Summit. You know what? I was 49, I was coming up on 50, and of course, I've been trying to quit for years, and I quit for a while after I got saved, and then just time on the road and this, that, the other. You start dipping again, and so anyway, I'm like, gosh, you gotta try to quit. And so, but I sit in the deer blind all the time. I'm traveling still, and so I started looking for all these different type of products, and so anyway, I found Smoky Mountain Herbal Snuff. It's tobacco free, it's nicotine free, and so that's what I'm dipping now. And it feels like the real stuff. I mean, there's other junk out there, but it's horrible. And Smoky Mountain is it's fabulous because I haven't dipped in 2 years. I don't have any urge to. I don't miss it. It doesn't bother me at all. If I'm sitting in the deer blind or I'm traveling down the road and I get that feeling, I just, I throw a Smoky Mountain, herbal dip in, and it's phenomenal. So, I've come a long way, Vince. At least I'm off the chew, and I've obviously been off of everything else for a decade and a half now.
Hey, Shawn, you got to school me on something because I never quite understood the difference of this. I'm going to tell you a little story about me back in college. Bro, I'm from Long Island, New York, but I went to college in Evansville, Indiana. And, there were a lot of good old boys in Evansville, Indiana, and I joined a fraternity. And one of the things, man, my fraternity brother, I'll never forget, Shawn, he had a little can. And I'm like, and he's putting this stuff in his lip, and I'm like, bro, what is that? And he's like, oh man, this is snuff. And I'm like, snuff? What the hell's that? And he couldn't believe I never tried snuff before. I said, bro, I'm from Long Island. We don't do snuff. So he talked me into taking this dip. Shawn, I swear to you, within 2 minutes, not only that, I was hugging the toilet bowl and turning absolutely green. Yeah. Shawn, I've never understood the difference between snuff and chewing tobacco. What's the difference between the two?
Okay, well, now chew is, you get the bigger packets, but it's long and it's leafy. Okay, and the snuff, what we call dipping, that's smaller, more fine. That's the stuff we put in the lip. We still call it chewing, but it's much smaller, it's finer, and you put it in your lip. And then the chew is longer and leafy, and you ball that up and put it in your cheek over here, and you just sort of chew on it, spit, chew on it. The other one sits right here, and you just spit as it's natural. And technically, it's all a form of tobacco, and it's a moist, almost wet type of tobacco leaf, and then, like I said, the chew stays in the more leafy stage, and the dip or the snuff is darn near almost like fine and filed up, but it's all ultimately tobacco.
So now, Shawn, how old were you when you started that habit?
Well, oh my goodness! Now in Del Rio, Texas, we would all I was between 8 and 10. We're all hanging out at the 4-H. Well, and of course you see all the cowboys. Well, what we started many years ago, there was something they called Happy Days, the Happy Day stuff, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's like candy." So we would we would try that. We didn't sneak around and smoke cigarettes. We snuck around and were trying to buy the dip. But then they also had these things they were called snuffettes, and it came in a little tin can, and they were almost like little. It was, and to this day I have no idea. They don't make them anymore. I don't know what they were made of, but they were like little pieces of almost like chalk, and they came in like a little tablet, and you stick that in your lip, and it would begin to moisten up, and it would turn brown, and you'd spit it, but it started in a solid, a solid little piece, and you just stick it in your lip, and it was for back then they had whatever starter kits for chewers and dippers and stuff. And of course, it would go the snuffettes, and then you would graduate to Happy Days, which was an easier one, and then you went to Skull, and then the major. I've only done Copenhagen a few times. Copenhagen was hardcore, but I was always a Skull guy. Skull long cut wintergreen guy.
And Shawn, like me with coffee, you just become full blown addicted. Is that what happens, or?
Well, you know what? For me, honestly, because it's like, it's like when you go back to the pills. Everybody when you addicted. I can only assume I wasn't because everything I've ever done, I kicked it in a day. For me, everything I did in my life, out of boredom, out of time on my hands, idle hands. You know, all the time on the road, the driving down the road, the sitting in the locker room, and that's what kept me doing it, you know, in the interviews. I mean, I'm on the tractor, I'm sitting in the deer stand, you know, we're driving down the road. So it was just a time killer. You know, it was something to do in the locker room, something to do, you know, waiting to do interviews, something to do while we're driving down the road, something to do on the plane, something to do while we're waiting on the airplane. Yeah. And when when it came time to quit, heck, you know, I quit. And the thing is, once I found the Smoky Mountain, I found something else to stick in there and start spitting, you know. And then, you know, it still got the, it still got the saliva going and all that, and it killed time. And, you know, I was fine. And, you know, so I mean, I don't know that I was addicted to the nicotine, so to speak, because that's what everybody said. And the strange thing is, I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. Wow. Of all the bad stuff I've done, as you know, Vince, the one thing I've never done is smoked a cigarette, which is, I don't know, it's sort of weird.
Sean, you know what's another thing I always used to remember about you, and listen, I'm the same way, and I've yet to kick the habit, and I doubt that you have. People are going to get so hot at me because I got Shawn Michaels on the show. We're talking about snuff, bro. But wait till I hit you with this one, because I bet you nobody ever brought this up in any interview that you did. Sean, one thing I remember about you vividly, always nail biting. Always. Are you still the big nail biter?
I'm not. My nails are good with the exception of the one. I've got the one here that's still. Although, I mean, I'll go on the sides a little bit, and unfortunately, my daughter, she's got my nail biting habit. I'm afraid, but I am much better. Again, I've gotten. You know, you'd be surprised once you get all the anxiety and the stress out of your life how. You'll manage to live a little bit healthier lifestyle. But no, I do not. I don't bite them. I still chew on them from time to time, but I do not actually bite them anymore.
I literally have one picture of me and you back in the day, and I'm going over something with you, and in that picture, you're biting your nails, bro.
I'm sure that I was. Yeah.
Now,
well, I mean. A lot of anxiety, man.
Yeah, a lot. I guess I still have it, bro, and you don't. Living where you're living and living a life.
Oh, boy.
Well, you know, Sean, listen, we got to talk about a couple things. There's so many things I want to cover. I know so much has changed about your life, and I know you've become, very, very humble about many things. But, bro, you cannot be humble about this. Because last night was WrestleMania. And it's just an honor to, have you on here, the day after WrestleMania. Sean, all everybody is talking about, and the thing that freaking blew me away, bro, what kind of shape are you in? Are you freaking kidding me? Sean, am I allowed to say your age, or we like to keep the age a secret? Because I had to look it up this morning.
Yeah, no, everybody knows. Yeah, no, I'm 50, man. I'm big 5'0".
Bro, what are you freaking kidding me? You cannot have that kind of physique from hunting.
No. All right, you want to hear the story?
Yes. Is it a DDP yoga story?
No.
Okay,
no.
Go ahead.
It is. You'll appreciate it because the same man who always puts me in tough positions and makes me angry motivated me to, get in shape. All right, so probably, all right, it all starts last summer. Last summer, my son and I, we go on a mission trip and yada, yada. We go on a mission trip over an island, come back, and all of a sudden Rebecca's like, just really in phenomenal shape. And, we come back, I'm like, holy cow. What's going on? She's like, man, I'm turning 40 next year, and I'm going to start, I'm going to just, time to get back in shape. So anyway, she just starts, on this amazing diet and just starts getting phenomenal shape. Then all of a sudden our church starts doing, you're probably familiar with this, the church starts doing what they, this Daniel plan. It's about getting yourself, not just spiritually in shape, but also physically in shape. So we started doing that a little bit as a family, and I'm trimming up a bit, but then it's hunting season, and it's just hard for me to stay in shape when you're traveling and hunting and stuff like that, and I always seem to eat camp food more than I should. But anyway, so 6 weeks ago, for the first time ever, they give me a little advance. I get a call from Vince, and runs by the idea of what they want us to do, what we did last night, and he says, "I want you in your gear, and I want you in the old HBK gear. All you guys are going to be in your gear." And he does, I want to say all this. You'll know and appreciate this. It's funny, but I mean, he does what he does. He tells something. He tells this story about how we're all going to be in our gear, when clearly you saw that all three of us were not in our gear.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And of course, I'm supposed to buy that everybody's in their gear.
Right.
And of course, as we're doing this, he's saying this, and I go, okay, but I mean, would you be? I said, I'm just, first of all, thanks for thinking of me. I appreciate it. I'd love to do it. Again, I'm 50. I mean, I don't know about taking my shirt off and being in my stuff. I said, would you be comfortable if I had my jeans and my boots on and I said, I'm in okay shape, but if I can wear a tank top, because I want you in HBK gear. Everybody's going to be in their gear. And of course, when he said everybody's going to be in their gear, and he, described, the situation when nobody's in their gear and nobody's got their shirt off but me, that's when, as you know, Vince, as he does, he's convinced himself that the sky is yellow.
Right.
No matter how blue it is,
right,
it's yellow. And so I just knew, okay. I said, not a problem. I'd love to do it, and I'll find some stuff, and not a problem. Man, I hung up the phone. I said, honey, I got 6 weeks. You got to get me. I said, he's and again, I recognize, don't get me wrong, everybody, the internet world now, they think that, the treating this guy unfairly, or setting this guy up this way and not doing this with that guy. This is all new stuff. It's, they're, different rules for different people have been going on for a long time,
Yeah.
And sometimes I benefited, and this particular case I did not. And so I said, honey, I've got 6 weeks. I'm going to start training with the guy. I said, you have got to get me. I said, he wants the shirt off. I said, I don't want to just be in shape. I said, I want to look better than I've ever looked before. I said, I am pissed. You know what I mean? I feel, because he is, he's, anyway, so I had no idea. I mean, you travel with guys twice your size forever. I had no idea how, I've never really done the bodybuilder diet plan before. And she just put me on this amazing diet. I started training with a guy at the gym. I went from 1,900 calories, or I was at 2,500 to 3,000 calories. That's what I was eating, and that's way too much. She knocked me down to 1,900. Then I went down to 1,700. In the last 2 weeks, I went down to 1,450 calories, training twice a day for the last 3 weeks. And so I just decided I was just gonna, I was not only gonna wear my stuff, but I was gonna have people go holy cow, man, the dude's,
yeah, exactly,
dude's off the charts,
right?
And honestly, and like everything, as again, meant to be. It was so much fun. I mean, I enjoyed doing it. I'm going to continue training with a guy. Heck, I started. I was training twice a day, and then I started boxing with a dude. So I'm doing that. It was just. It's one of those things where you're not aware that something that appears to be angry is going to benefit you in a good way. But I tell you, it didn't take me 1 or 2 times doing it. And I thought the good Lord's doing something here. This is opening up a door.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, on the backside of that, the Outdoor Channel, I'm going to be doing a new show on the Outdoor Channel. We can talk about that at a different time. But again, new doors were open. But it was just, I feel better than I've ever. I can go out right now and wrestle 45 minutes. I feel like $1 million, and it was a blast to do. The last 6 weeks have been phenomenal, and I feel better than I've ever felt before.
Well, now that you said that, I'm going to ask the question. I mean, did it change your mind about there being 1 or 2 more in the tank?
Well, they've always been there, but no. I mean, dude, I was out of the building, and we were, pulling through Popeyes and then Whataburger, about an hour and a half after I was done last night. We were, we were blazing back here home. No, I don't. I mean, I don't miss it. I don't have any desire to do it. I've always, I've always had more to do. I mean, I guess and I get it. It's the wrestling business, so nobody leaves with plenty more left. But I did, and I did that purposely because I get how everybody expects the business to go, but you don't really, in real life and in the regular world, no one. Again, it's like I tell everybody. It's not wise in anything to spend everything you've got. You know what I mean? It's like saying, gosh, you still got money in the bank. Why'd you do that? Why don't you just go out and spend it all? Oh my gosh, you've still got a round of bullets left in your gun. Why wouldn't you just shoot them all out? Hey, you've still got, your heart's still pumping. Why would you not just, do everything you could to kill yourself? I mean, it's only in the wrestling business that we think like you've got to expend absolutely everything you have to enjoy it. I had a great time. I left because I wanted to come home and raise my kids. I left because, you work really hard and save your money so that you can one day go and begin to enjoy yourself or do things you haven't done or learn other things. And for some reason in the wrestling business, that just seems very unnatural. Yeah. However, I will say this. I mean, now there's a lot of younger generation. I had a number of people, I won't mention any names, but I had a number of people come up to me yesterday and they go, dude, you're my goal. And I mean, not you, but I want to do, they seem to get it now. I mean, it's like, now, okay, you don't have to, I don't know at what point, it's like let's put it this way. It's like the handshake they always did all those years ago. And I just never bought into the really loose handshake.
Right.
Why do we do that? Because everybody does that? I mean, again, don't you teach your children just because everybody's doing it doesn't make it right?
Right, yep.
You know what I mean? But for whatever reason in the wrestling business, we've all convinced ourselves that this is the way you do it. I mean, nobody, and everybody's gotten so used to doing it that somehow it's okay. And again, I mean, I guess don't get me wrong. It sounds like I'm knocking the business. I'm not.
Right.
It's, gosh, it was wonderful to me. I love it. But, put it this way, if you really do love something, isn't the old phrase, you let it go?
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
And so I felt like, the best way to respect and to show love for the wrestling business was to leave in a nice way, in a good way, in a positive way, and let the next generation go about their business and, do something else.
So, Shawn, what happens when you show up at WrestleMania and you're the only one in wrestling attire?
Well, look, I mean, no, I don't. We sort of all got together beforehand, and again, I got a call, from my buddy beforehand, like, hey, man, just I mean, I'm wearing my jeans and my shirt and my tennis shoes, and I said, no, I know. I said, I'm bringing my stuff. Look, I am not about making waves anymore. I said, look, ask. I think Road Dogg was our producer, and I said, look, ask if I can, wear my jeans and my boots, but if he's adamant about being in my gear, and I said, not a problem. And he said, look, I want HBK. I said, all right. And so that was it. I mean, I just didn't matter to me. And plus, look, I'm not going to lie to you. You're Vince Russo. You know me. All right. Don't think for 1 second that I didn't know that I was in the best shape I've ever been in. And that when I pulled that shirt off, that everybody was going to go.
Yes.
There's a reason there's only one 50-year-old out there with his shirt off.
Yeah.
That's because he can. You know what I mean? And so, look, I mean, Ed, like, I'd love to tell you that, I didn't, that I don't know that I didn't know that, I was in pretty decent shape. I did, and so I thought, well, I did what I always tried to do, which is try to make the best out of a situation that I was uncomfortable in.
Yeah.
I was not, because I am not that guy anymore. And that's what all of us. I mean, me, Mick, and Steve. I mean, heck, we all like, geez, we're not, and I mean that in a good way. We're all we all are happy where we're at in our lives and stuff, and you know, and it's tough to try to convince, you know, some folks that like, no, we're good with moving on, man, and we're okay with being 50 and 51. But you want us to go back and be those guys that we were 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's like, all right, but just so you know, I mean, if they don't buy it, we don't blame them because we ain't buying it because we know it ain't true. But thankfully, again, the people enjoyed it, and that's ultimately that's all we were there to do.
Shawn, you know what I saw from, you know, being an insider and having the honor to work with all three of you guys in your prime. This is what I loved more than anything. When I was there during the Attitude Era, you guys were in your prime. You know, you guys were more or less all competing with each other. And let's face it, I say this all the time, you know, the wrestling business was built on the independent contractor. There is no team. Everybody was taught to get themselves over at everybody's expense. So there was that competition. You know, you, Mick, and Steve were the top guys. And, you know, in conversations I had with Steve, you know, he would tell me that competition, and I'm sure you'll say the same thing, made you guys better. You know, you're looking at what Steve's doing. Steve's looking at what Mick's doing. You guys got to keep lifting the bar, which is making you better. But the one thing that stood out to me yesterday that I had to sit back and laugh is I remember those days when everybody was trying to be better than the other guy. That's why the Attitude Era was so great. And it looked like last night the three of you are out there and everybody is trying to not upstage the other guy. And I was like, oh my God, how times have changed.
Well, we were all very conscious of your stuff, you do your stuff, you know, yeah. I mean, it's funny because it's the polar opposite, as you know, of what we once were. And everybody's like, well, now, are you okay if we do, you know, you're right, we do this, and we do, you know. Like, well, what you want me, like, when you do this, I'll make sure I'm not doing anything, and you know, so yeah, everybody is very, because, well, and it is, and that's the one thing that's fun about it is that, you know, yeah, everyone has, you know, at least in that particular group,
right.
We've all moved past all that, and we're able to really take the time to enjoy what it was we did last night. Doing it together. You know, and that's the thing that's so awesome about this aspect of where we're all at in our lives is you know, having those moments and enjoying them to the fullest, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Shawn, I want to go back to the very, very, very beginning because I find something really interesting about you and about the way you were raised. And it's almost like they don't match up. And I'm curious to hear the reason why, okay? Shawn, listen, I've worked with just about everybody, you know, because I worked for the three companies, okay?
Okay, here's my cat.
There's a cat doing a run-in. And can you imagine, Shawn, I'm interviewing Shawn Michaels and his cat's doing runs. Shawn, I say this to everybody, okay? Bro, I worked for the WWE for 5 years. I never ever saw anybody stand up to Vince McMahon the way that you did. Ever. And that includes Steve, that includes take anybody. I saw on so many occasions, you stand up to Vince, you go toe-to-toe to Vince, you tell Vince what you thought and the way things should have been done. Now, Shawn, I know, you know, you were a different guy at the time. I get that, but I still believe that, you know, even if you know, you weren't, you know, under the influence of this, that, or the other thing, I still believe that Shawn Michaels would have stood up for what he thought was right, even though it was Vince McMahon. You were never the guy to fall in line. And when I look at your upbringing, it kind of doesn't fall in place. And I want to talk to you about this. You were from a military family. I know that, and you were like the military brat, and that's what your father did for a living. Now, Shawn, here's the weird thing. I would think with your dad, and I know you are super close with your parents, and you love and respect your parents, But I would think with your dad having that military background and being raised by a father like that you would have tended to be yes, sir, no, sir, and just fall in line. But you were the complete opposite. I'm just curious as to why that was.
Well, one, my father, believe it or not, he was a military man, but he, even in his military line of work, he did not take a lot of stuff from people. I mean, my dad was very matter of fact. I mean, and in the years, like, even after I got saved, I mean, even when I went back, it's like JR used to say, he said, look, wasn't that some of the stuff you said all those years ago was bad? He said, it was your delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I still, again, this time I went back, did what I was told, but because, again, I mean, I was in a, there was nothing, there was no downside to me being in my gear and having my shirt off and stuff like that. So clearly, that wasn't a hill worth dying on. But, in the since 2002 when I went back, there were things that I just, wasn't going to do, or this didn't seem right or whatever. And I still was very nice and respectful. So, I mean, I learned the craft, but to the point you were asking about, look, my father, again, he told me many stories of him having problems with other generals and other colonels and things of that nature, and always sort of standing his ground. And I guess it was one of the things he did. I mean, he taught me that, and I always knew that there was, and it wasn't conscious, but I always knew that, again, another one of those things that's strange about the wrestling business, that like somehow you can't speak your mind, that somehow, again, it's like everybody, they never get time off. Yeah, you get time off if you want time off.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, you're going to lose your spot. You're going to lose your spot if you want to lose your spot. There's always a reason. I don't mean to be cruel, but there's always an excuse. There's always and that was the one thing where, again, my father he just taught me, and my mom, that there are no excuses in that respect. If you're not going to do something, be man enough to walk away and walk away and deal with the circumstances as they are. And so anyway, point being, yes, I went about it the wrong way, but again, it was no different again than people not understanding like why I retired. And it's like, well, but you could still go back and, do the once a year thing or twice a year. Other guys do it. It's like, yeah, I could, but again, you have to understand that one, if there were, again, like say this year, for instance, if there were a number of injuries that went on, they'd call me.
Mm-hmm.
They'd call me to fill in. They wouldn't call any of the other guys. You know that as well as I do.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be other guys that wrestle twice a year or whatever. They wouldn't call them. They'd call me. And again, I'm not saying that to complain or whatever, but because anytime somebody got hurt, they always called me. And it didn't matter if I was still hurt, if I was coming off an injury, they'd call and I'd go. You know what I mean? And I'd do it. So anyway, point being, I don't know. It just always seemed, and it didn't take long to learn in the wrestling business for me that you learn to say no, or you learn to convince that, because again, that whole business, again, love it dearly, but every bit of it is work. Every bit of it. From the start to the beginning, it is 100% built on BS. It is 100% BS start to finish. Whether they're dealing with the internet world, whether they're dealing with the WWE. Both of them give you as much truth as they need to give you to get you as the wrestling fan to buy in. Once you're bought in, you're hooked. We can tell you anything. The entire business, start to finish, is a work. Therefore, if that is the case, when you convince them that when your no is no, that's the only power you have in that business. That's the only time you have any amount of independence, is when you convince that entire industry that when you say something, you're going to deliver on it. And to do that, you've got to establish that.
Yeah. Well, Shawn, I got to ask you this question, man, because I kind of disagree with you. You said a couple minutes ago, maybe I went about it, the wrong way. Shawn, I got to tell you, as being on the outside looking in, I don't think you went about it the wrong way, because I think going about it the way you did gave you, the stage to do what you did. Shawn, I still talk to quite a few people inside of the WWE, and the thing I hear over and over and over again is guys are afraid to speak up. When it comes to creative, and it just seems like they're just putting everybody through a system and everybody's coming out the same. And I'm always hearing guys are afraid to speak up. Guys are afraid to, say what they really feel. They're afraid, like you said, they're going to lose their spots, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I always say, wait a minute, man. I think there's a time in every man's life, Shawn, whether it's wrestling or anything else. I think there comes a time when, you know what? I'm better than the spot that I'm in. And you've got to take your balls in your hand because of your confidence, and you got to speak up and say how you really feel. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to earn a respect that you never had before. By not saying anything and not speaking up, you're not going to earn anybody's respect. Therefore, they're going to tell you forever what to do. So was that going about it the wrong way, what you did?
Well, I agree with you, but each guy has to come to that time on their own. No man, each of us have different limits, and so each guy only knows what his limits are. In regards to, did they go about the wrong way? Could have been more professional. Again, 2002, I still went back and did it and was nice about it. You don't hear any stories except ones that are made up about me going off the rails or this, that, and the other or anything like that. For instance, look. I'm trying to think. There weren't many things that I can think of offhand that I didn't do when they wanted me to go back, but they're just, nothing was, I guess the thing is, again, once you sort of scare somebody straight, they don't they don't do it, but certainly you could do it. Taker did it in a much more respectful way. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of my point. I could have been a little bit nicer about it. Now, at the same time, if I were to do if I were an independent guy and I came in from, say, Ring of Honor and I did what I did years ago, they'd spin it that it was cool. When I did it, it was unprofessional, and it was never because I was a drug addict, it's because I was just a stone cold, what. But really, it's because I was, yes, the attitude was still there, but, the mood and all of that could have been a lot better, could have been stated differently, more professionally, and things of that nature. So that's what I say about my delivery, and I agree with JR in that respect. Now, to the point of what you said, as far as once you get it established, it's true. For instance, again, there's everybody, internet, even people within the wrestling industry, convinced that, whatever it was, the Hall of Fame, that I went out there and tore my speech up and everything else. And heck, that was a piece of paper I picked up off of the gorilla position. Scott Hall and Ed Koski, the guy who wrote my Hall of Fame induction speech, they both looked at me and go, prop? I said, yeah. And I went out there, and all I had to do was say that was, I just said, and say that I was going off the cuff and say that I was going to get in trouble. And they all wrote that I had heat and everything else. And none of that was true. Those are all things the day before that I told Ed Koski. These are things I'd like to say about Kevin. He goes, all right. And all of that was approved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but this, the spin later on was I have heat because I went out there because, one, I've got the past now. Mm-hmm. I've cried wolf enough in the past, that now I can go out there and spin a yarn and people go, it's all real. You know what I mean? And so it's, again, I don't mean to, overemphasize it, but the business is pretend. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so, and look, you can either look at it that way or you cannot. I've always chosen to look at it that way, and my job is to go out there and do it well and to convince everybody. And nowadays, nowadays everything is sort of the internet, but there's still a way for you to entertain or work or whatever it is we're calling it now. Don't know, I don't care. And that's the thing. I've never cared about how we describe stuff. I don't get into that. I don't get into who's right or the right way to do it or the this or the that. I don't live tweet on Monday nights because this is a good match, or that's a good match, or this needs to be doing this, or use the cool words like narrative and creative or storyline. I don't know any of that stuff. I know less about the wrestling business than any dude that's been in the wrestling business for 30 years should probably know. I just try to go out there and I need to convince you with smoke and mirrors of whatever it is I'm trying to convince you of. And the thing is, all of you are on different levels. So I got to do a number of different things at once, and I'm playing a shell game constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, when I go back to work at WWE, that's what the job is, and so I just try to do that and make it entertaining in the meantime.
Yeah.
I guess.
Shawn, I want to talk about a time because I think we may be in a very familiar on a very familiar street right now. And I want to talk about this, and I'm sure nobody's brought this up to you before. I'm bringing it up because I saw it firsthand. And there obviously is a situation going on with Roman Reigns right now that to me reminds me of a time 20 years ago. And let me please refresh your memory in case you forgot. Because, listen, and bro, Shawn, I would never in any way, shape, or form, try to, get you in any trouble with the WWE or anything like that. I just want to hear your opinions on this stuff because I think there were a lot of cases with you that were similar. Shawn, people have to understand one thing, and I don't think they do. And that's why I have to say this, because I was there, and I saw it firsthand. Pre-Attitude Era was probably one of the most down times in the history of the WWF. You were the champion at the time. The NWO was...
Because I don't draw!
No. The NWO was just starting at the time. The problem wasn't you not drawing. The problem was this NWO came on the scene, cutting edge, rewriting the wrestling book. WWF was still doing Mantar and TL Hopper and the Goon. So there was a huge problem. But I got to say this. You were the babyface champion at the time. In my opinion, you were literally carrying the entire company on your back. I saw firsthand you do everything that was ever asked of you. Now, here's why I want to bring this up, because I think it relates a lot to today. Shawn, I remember vividly, we were in the television studio, and you were cutting promo after promo after promo after promo of, coming to MSG, coming to the Nassau Coliseum. That's when you cut promos to sell tickets to the arena. I remember Vince made me write those promos, and every one of them had to be different, and you were reading off a prompter, and my instructions for Vince was white bread babyface. White bread. And, I remember, bro, at the time, your opponents were Vader, your opponents were Sid, and Vince was telling me, Vince, white bread babyface promos, and I'm writing these promos, and it was painful to me because I knew this was not Shawn. You cut the promos without saying a word, and Shawn, I could see it was painful for you. This was not Shawn Michaels. Fast forward 20.
It wasn't. Now, as you know, it wasn't the guy that got us there either. I was the heel Attitude. HBK was the one that got me turned babyface, as you know.
Absolutely.
He had a little edge, so and once they put the belt on me, he wanted me to do the, as you know, so go ahead.
Absolutely, bro. The Shawn Michaels got you there. All of a sudden, you're a generic babyface. Let's just put it that way. And man, I had a hard time with it. You were the one doing it. I know you had a bigger hard time with it. Shawn, we can fast forward 20 years, and I sit back and I watch this Roman Reigns, and I feel so badly for the guy because I'm seeing the same exact thing. And it's like, man, I've been there with Shawn. I've been there working with Vince McMahon, how he works. I know that obviously didn't work at the time. I don't think it's working 25 years later. I'll give you a perfect example, Shawn. If I'm a guy like Roman Reigns and I look like him and I'm built like him and I got a little chip on my shoulder like him, and I stand on the second rope and I'm trying to be a baby face and there's a hostile crowd booing me out of the building, I don't care who you are, you're not going to stand there with a smile on your face. But I know Roman's doing exactly what the boss is telling him to do, and it just doesn't look like people are really buying it, much like they didn't buy you in the way that day. Do you see the situations similar? And if you don't, fine, but if you do, what would you recommend to a Roman Reigns that's going out there busting it every night, but obviously doing what he's told?
Right. Well, I'll answer it on a number of levels because, as I say, I mean, and I don't say this to try to be cool. I don't watch anything. I'm never aware of what's going on totally. But I follow my Twitter feed, and you can get a sense of what's going on in the with the WWE without watching. And so this is my feeling. I'll say one. I did all those promos that you said that I did. Now, and I did do them, and I don't know if you remember it, but I do remember. Like, we would discuss it, and it was uncomfortable. But as you know, if I didn't want to do them and I wanted to fight him back then, I would have. We had talked. He had convinced me that this was the way to go. I did trust him, all right, and I did believe in it. It did not work. I mean, that's one of those things where, we felt it wasn't right. We were right, but I didn't. That's one of the things I didn't stick on. I didn't put my foot down and demand. So that's one of those things I look back on that now and I go, that's on me. And see, that's the thing. I don't mind, again, I'm not, I don't do the drug addict victim thing. I mean, that's on me. Mm-hmm. That's one answer. The second point is, again, as you know, there was a time Sid and I were working. I was dropping the belt to him. The people turned on me, and of course, back then, people were like, "Oh, it got to him." And of course, I mean, technically, as you know, I mean, that's what that is old school 101. If the town's buying this, you turn and you work the match as such.
Right.
Nowadays, I get that that's different, and so anyway, and so this is my 2 cents on the Roman Reigns situation. What I think is going on. Look, we went through it, and it still goes on with John. Okay,
mm-hmm.
But John draws money. John draws money, and he draws ratings. When he leaves, things go down. They notice the difference. So I think that they've just decided. I mean, someone mentioned the other day, like, hey, the kid's drawing money. It's like the Howard Stern thing now. If half the people come to boo him and then the other half come to cheer him, but there's a lot of them coming, it's about money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get everybody's talking about the ratings, this and the other. Look, first of all, and I don't mean to, I'm not trying to stick up for the company. My understanding, I work for another, television station as well. Ratings in darn near all television platforms are going down. There are a few shows here and there that are experiencing increases, but it goes up and down. Ultimately, if a $350 million company, give or take whatever, but you're making 3% growth on that, that's still up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a much bigger entity than that now. Now, having said that, because again, you have to understand from their standpoint, it is bottom line money.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So there's a couple things there. I get it from the police, and I put it this way: for me, as a guy in there with him, if I'm a bad guy, a heel, having to work with him, it's tough. It's challenging.
Yeah.
You got to go 30 minutes. And believe me, I get that, but that's what we do. It's our job to figure that out. From a company standpoint, I mean, you do what you can. For me, the easiest thing, like we've said for years, turn John heel. But no, they for whatever reason, they're seeing numbers that I don't suppose we get to see. And then there's look, I get that everything now is the internet. There is no difference between the two really anymore. And I get what those hardcore fans say, and they don't like it and this, that, and the other. But at the same time, and I'm going to get a ton of heat for this, but it is true. Okay? You do keep watching.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the ratings may be going down here and there, but we're not losing you.
Yep. Yeah. As long as the word wrestling is in the title, they're watching. I've said that for years.
I don't mean to say, and I know your claim is because you either work for it or you love it. Love doesn't operate that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Obsession does. Okay? Fan is short for fanatic. And again, I'm not knocking you. Believe me, without you, we wouldn't have anything. But you ain't going anywhere. And do you feel disrespected? You might. And do they respect you? You know what? I don't know. Maybe they don't. But you know what? You do keep watching. Maybe that's why they don't respect you. I mean, and again, I'm just saying maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying at the same time, you know, I see it because I wasn't sure. At first, I always thought it was in wrestling. I'm a huge NASCAR fan now. Man, I see guys complaining about the rules, the new rule. I love the new chase format. I love everything about NASCAR, but I wasn't watching it back in the day. I've been watching in the 2000s, and I love it. I love all the changes they've made. Man, the guys that have been watching it for 10, 20, or 20, 30, I've been watching for 10, but, 20, 30, 40 years, they can't stand it because it's not the way that it originally was. And I get that. And everybody, asks me, like, do you miss it? No, I don't miss it because it isn't, what's on TV now isn't what I used to do. Okay, so I might be able to miss what I used to do, but what's on TV now isn't what I did anyway. So it's easy not to miss. So there's a number of different aspects, and everybody feels like they've got the poison pill and they've got the answer. They don't. And none of us do. I mean, I'm not really sure. You can go with other guys. You can try this, but they've made their decision. I don't know. I mean, I guess ultimately, look, I mean, there are some I don't knows for me in this because I sincerely don't know, but I do know, I get how the hardcore fan feels, but at the same time, man, I don't, I've watched, especially now, at least for the last 5-6 years I've had Twitter. I've heard, I've heard you talk and complain about it all the time, but you don't ever leave.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I mean, so do I worry about you leaving? No, I don't. And so maybe they don't. You talk tough, and I don't mean, again, all you do, you're a bunch of, again, respectfully, but you're a lot of hot air.
Yeah.
You ain't going anywhere. And so if they feel that, and again, I don't know what to tell you. And yes, if you feel like it's, I can't do it because they love it. Look, I love it. That's what, and I left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sean,
that's how you really love something, by the way. No, but I'm just saying. Go complain to the woman you love. I mean, beat her down, be disrespectful, say horrible stuff to her for 3 hours every Monday night. All right? I mean, run her down, complain about her, beat her up. I mean, tweet about her. I mean, and then dog her to her face and yell in the crowd and everything else. And then, I mean, do that for 3 hours every Monday night and then tell her you love her and see how long she buys that.
Yeah. Sean, listen, your statement now just put me off on a whole other tangent that I got to talk to you about, and I know it's going to take, it's going to take a little bit of time. So I have to ask you, will you please, my friend, come back next week so we can finish this conversation?
Sure. Yeah, you got it.
Sean, I'm going to ask you one question though before we go to next week. If somebody said to you, Sean, you have to make a decision. You can either never hunt again or never watch a single Spur game again.
Oh.
What do you do, Sean? What do you do? You can't do one, bro.
No, you want to know what? And I wouldn't like it, but I mean, I live on a ranch, and the reason I moved, I'm especially now, we've won championships. Timmy's coming to the end. I'm sure we've got other young guys, but David and Tim were my generation. The Spurs are a bona fide championship team every year. I'm going without watching the Spurs.
And you're going hunting?
I'm going hunting.
With the wife and kids?
Yep, all the time.
Welcome back to the Swerve. This is part 2 of my interview with Shawn Michaels, as I promised, right here on Podcast 1. Shawn, how you doing today? Thanks for the return visit.
Doing great. Nope, not a problem, man. Appreciate you again. I'm so long-winded, you got to cut me into 2 weeks, man.
Hey, Shawn, I want to pick up right where we left off because you said something very interesting last week. Shawn, I think part of the success of the Attitude Era was we knew we had the hardcore wrestling fans that were going to watch week in and week out. We knew we had them. We knew we had to go for the casual television viewers. We had to go for everybody else out there that maybe weren't necessarily wrestling fans. And that's when we broke up the show, and I feel we started giving them a little bit of everything. Comedy, drama, sex, action. You know, there was variety. Somebody, you know, a 12-year-old kid would have liked something. A 40-year-old woman would have liked something completely different. I think that was the success of the Attitude Era. We brought in the masses. I got to tell you, Shawn, what I think has happened in the last year and a half, this is only my opinion, but I've been watching it very closely. There was an internet during that time. We just didn't pay attention to them because we knew they were watching the show regardless. So, you know, they complained, they cut promos on us, they hated this, they hated that. Yeah, and you'll be back next week. So we paid attention to the people that weren't watching the show. Shawn, I think sometime around last January, I never thought I'd see this. I never thought I'd see this. I feel like the WWE started basically catering to that internet audience that was already there. And the reason why I say that, I think there's been a drastic change, you know, Shawn. While you were there, it was all about the spectacle. It was all about the character. It was all about the story. And that was just as important as the match. Today, if you ask me, it's 90% match and maybe 10% character development, story. And I feel that they're catering more and more and more to that hardcore niche audience, you know, that doesn't like characters, doesn't like vignettes, doesn't like anything happening backstage, don't like storylines. They just want to see a 30-minute match with a bunch of high spots. And I feel the WWE started catering to them. Why, I have no idea, because they're not going anywhere. But Shawn, here's my biggest concern. By doing that, I'm afraid they're going to turn wrestling into a niche product, because they've kind of scaled back on what the masses and the, you know, non-wrestling fans were interested in. And now you got a bunch of wrestling fans watching the show that weren't going anywhere in the first place. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, one, I mean, this is, and again, this is where people, again, they're going to say, like, there's no way, you know, whatever, he's lying or whatever. One, I can tell you, for me, I never once, you guys might have, and that's the thing, people don't understand that. You guys may have thought one thing, what I thought, you know, in my mind was another. I never thought about trying to get an audience. All I know is there was a point in time where we, as performers, I can remember it was me and Ash and the Click, you know, we wanted to do more stuff. We felt like the rest of the business was boring, and we needed to get a little bit more outside the box, and we're pushing for that kind of stuff. And everybody knows of the stories and yada yada yada, but that eventually got, you know, shot down. Then it became like, oh my goodness, now WCW coming. Now it became just about winning. I don't ever remember wanting to worry about, we got to get this audience, we got to get this, we got to get that. I know there was a time. I mean, I'm sure there were TV ratings before Monday Night Raw, but I absolutely never in my career heard about TV ratings until I was the champion. Okay? Mm-hmm. The only thing I ever heard about then was thanks for the house, the gate, how many people were in the building. So for me, things just happened at a particular point in time, but I just know I gauged everything for me as a performer about what I wanted to do. For me, there came a point to where I'm doing the same thing every night. I mean, that was the reason for even going to get Kevin. I felt like every single night I'm getting dropped. The guy's dropping the belt on me, standing on my chest. I'm getting DQ'd every night as the heel Intercontinental Champion. So I wanted things to change. I wanted things to, so that is the way I have gauged every aspect of the wrestling business for me personally is about this, is that nobody will find this to be a shock. Selfishly, what I want to do. Creatively, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to expand. I want to do more of this. I want to try that. So I never once thought about, and again, it sounds horrible, but I never thought once about what the wrestling fan sort of wanted or was looking for or whatever, because I was brought up in the business to where our job is to work them. You know what I mean? So to me, the biggest thing about the wrestling, like I can remember, again, being in a meeting of we need to figure out a name for him, and they call him the WWE Universe, and people encouraging the chants and stuff like that. It's I'm still from the school is you don't tell me what to do. I don't listen to the fans. The fans listen to me.
Right.
I'm the worker. You know what I mean? So again, you have to understand, and I'm not saying that to try to, to sound tough or whatever, but that's my mentality was, why would I mean, I listen to them to know how to have my match or what direction to go, but they don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
They're here. I mean, they're already here. My job now is to do stuff with them, to take them on a roller coaster, to tell them a story. You know what I mean? I never once thought more about that. My job was just to do what I was supposed to do, create something with the audience that I had. I never once, yes, and when you're the champion, then all of a sudden, it's all about you drawing and yada, yada, yada. But so as I give this answer, I can remember before there was the internet, there were the guys, the same guys that were doing the sheets. And I can remember guys reading those, and again, at one time, it was one of the things that sort of started some of the rift with Brett and I, because I just said, well, I don't need, and it's something Piper taught me. Nobody's going to tell me if my match was good. I'm the one that knows that. Nobody stars me. I star me. You know what I mean? And that always bothered, people that I said that in the locker room. And of course, and like I said, it was something Roddy taught me. He was like, you come back and ask people how your match was. You know how your match was, and even if it wasn't what you wanted to be, it was great. So it was, I was taught a different way anyway. And so, and again, I thought about the business selfishly. If I just did my stuff and I did my job to the best of my ability, more people would come to watch it. And yes, you're supposed to draw people and things like that. But I didn't consciously do anything to try to bring more people in. I was just trying to continually try to evolve, be more exciting, do more fun stuff, do more creative stuff, do stuff that hadn't been done, that they haven't seen this, they haven't seen that. I was just more worried about experiencing absolutely everything. That's why I don't know how long it was. It's sort of what brought you and I together, which, again, is the fact that when you stepped in and you started writing and stuff, it was like, holy cow, you opened up this whole new door for me to oh my goodness, you're going to let me do that? You're going to let me sort of just go out there and let me just, I guess now the kids call it freestyle or whatever. But I mean, you're just going to let me go out there and rip. You want me, all right, this is who I'm wrestling, this is what we're doing, and you're going to let me just sort of go out there and let me just, and if those people are on me, that was just awesome, so again, I don't even know if I'm answering your question really, but that I never treated the wrestling business that way. And so, and there were times again when it's one of those things where, again, I've been in those meetings, and this sort of answers your question that, yes, it's like when they would sit there and they talk about either an angle or a storyline or even a match, and then people would start asking the why question. Yeah, but why would he do that? And then why would he do that? Okay, yeah, but if I'm going to do this, why would I do this? And of course, then I was just like, oh, and I finally said, because it's pro wrestling. That's why. And look, this stuff stops making sense.
Yeah.
The first time you hit the rope, or the first time that I'm in there with Big Show. Okay, it stops making sense. It stopped again, and that's so funny because we use the word psychology. And of course, yes, there's an aspect of that, but there's also this stuff is, and again, that's what got me heat way back when. This stuff is pretend.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't real. It's what you want it to be. And so I've never let anybody dictate to me anyway what the wrestling business is or why a match is. I mean, I can make you, and I'm just saying this was my attitude. I can make you believe whatever I freaking want you to believe because I'm good at my job. And if I can't do that, I'm not good at my job. And that's the part, that's how I judged how well I was doing stuff. You know what I mean? And so
absolutely.
It was y'all's job to worry about bringing other people in or, knew this or knew that or whatever. I was just supposed to take what you gave me, add my, you know what I mean, or add my 2 cents, or and then sometimes it would be all of us creating it together, but it was just ultimately my job is to make it awesome, or phenomenal, or the absolute best I can make it, and so that's all I focused on. All the other stuff is supposed to take care of itself. Again, it's like why to this day why people don't understand why I don't have a room with walls on it, why I've never watched any of my old matches, why I don't have action figures of myself. I don't have, all that stuff. Man, yesterday is gone. I had a great time yesterday. It was phenomenal, but that is done. And, I'm going turkey hunting tomorrow with my wife. You know what I mean? This just, and I got that. I get part of it's from Vince. It's like, hey, WrestleMania was great yesterday, but that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Tonight's Raw. That's why I was always worried. That's why I told guys, WrestleMania is great, man, but how are you following up on Raw? I mean, the minute that match is done at WrestleMania, you better know what you're doing the next day on Raw to capitalize on whatever it was, or to follow up on that loss or whatever. I mean, and again, that's something that Piper taught me too, which is, man, it this is important, but the follow up. You know what I mean? You can set a guy up all day with the jab, but eventually you got to come. So it's constantly moving parts, and you've got to be. It is a 24/7 job to be knowing what's going on. I can't worry about if he's a casual fan or a hardcore fan or this fan or a part-time this or a part. It's hard enough for me. I'm just concentrating on the stuff between the ropes.
Yeah, but Shawn, I got to say this. I have to say this. I want to get this in there because it's vital and it's important to me. First of all, I want to ask you, are you impressed that I know Remington is actually a gun company? Is that impressive, bro? I'm a Yankee from New York, bro.
Remington guns. I mean, Remington's one of the most famous. It's like knowing Winchester.
See, I know that. Okay, I know that. Bro, I have to bring this up because you keep talking about, you wanted to be the best. You wanted to do things differently. You worried about your match. You. Bro, I got to stop you right there. Because here's what I want to make clear, and I need to get this out there because, Shawn, I'm going to be honest. I really didn't see this until the second round 20 freaking years later. Shawn, you were such a good performer. I think that there is a good percentage of people out there that literally bought into your persona and believed it. I think there's a good amount of people that honestly and truly believed that the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, is selfish, he's cocky, he doesn't give a crap about anybody else. It's me, he'll cut anybody's throat. There are people that to this day believe that because you were that good. But I have to talk about this with you because it was something I saw 20 years later when I had the time to stop and watch that freaking blew me away. And what it is, Shawn, is I was talking about you earlier, last week about, you were the WWE champion, carrying the company on your back. We weren't doing so good at the time. All of a sudden now we started planting the seeds for a change. We weren't even at the Attitude Era yet. It was a change. I think a big part of that change, Shawn, was I really tried to convince Vince, listen, nobody always wears a white hat. Nobody always wears a black hat. Good people do bad things and bad people do good things. We are all shades of gray. Not one person is going to be good all the time. Not one person is going to be bad all the time. And I really worked Vince to kind of let these guys be. Let's see who they really are. I think shades of gray will work.
All right.
I talked him into, listen, Vince, this were my exact words, I don't care if they boo or cheer, as long as they react. If they're reacting to the performance, that's all that matters. They could boo, they could cheer, who cares? Let the guys be who they're going to be. So I think that was the change in philosophy. So, shortly after that, we had DX. Now, Shawn, I have to tell you this because as I go back and I watch the Attitude Era shows because we analyze them on my network, bro, it is unbelievable for me to sit back now and understand you literally on a week-to-week basis are getting Hunter over single-handedly. Bro, the things you did to help get China over was freaking unbelievable. And at that time, I didn't recognize it. I didn't understand it. But when I go back and I look now, you were getting the next generation over. You weren't being selfish. You were giving them the Shawn rub, and you were giving it to them. Now, all of a sudden, Shawn Michaels, the WrestleMania match with Austin comes and goes. Now you go home. All of a sudden now the Attitude Era explodes. Now, Shawn, I tell everybody, I saw Shawn Michaels single-handedly hand the Attitude Era over to the WWF and literally go home. They took the seeds that Shawn planted and they ran with it. But I say this all the time. Without Shawn planting those seeds, I don't think there ever would have been an Attitude Era. Now, Shawn, I have to ask you this, and I know this about you, it is business with you, and it's money and business, and I understand all that. But here you are, bro, getting Hunter over, getting China over, creating DX, giving the company the attitude it never had. Now, in your absence, it freaking explodes. While you were at home watching that, Shawn, was that like bittersweet, like kind of knowing, you know what, I kind of kick-started that, and now it's blown up and I'm not there. I mean, what was your feeling during the time when all of a sudden it just exploded and you set the table and now you're not there to enjoy it?
Yeah, honestly, and again, it's so anticlimactic, but it's I guess it's what helped me. It's what helps me adjust so well afterwards. I wasn't. I mean, it didn't. It wasn't anything. It was like, oh, that's really. I was neat. It was happy. I was happy for everybody. It was neat watching the wars go back and forth. I was doing something else, with my life and having time on my hands. I mean, it's funny. Everybody always says that, like, gosh, you missed out on it. Did it ever bother you? And I don't. I mean, I was going through my own struggles at the time, but it was me personally. But I never once had any animosity about anything. I mean, it's really weird, and again, it is. It's why people think I don't. Again, it's why when I was doing it, they didn't think I respected the business. It's like now afterwards, they don't think I love it, or I didn't love it enough, or whatever. I've always just sort of, I've just always been sort of ambivalent to, again, I don't go back and watch stuff. I don't have, my stuff's in the freaking attic, collecting dust and in Tupperware bins. I don't have I Love Me walls. You wouldn't know that I was a wrestler for 30 years. If you look at the stuff on this house, it doesn't. It was just life just went on. You know what I mean? And I was in a new marriage. There was something going on with me, but I was happy for everybody. I thought it was neat. You see, no one. I suppose it might have made a difference had somebody, came up and they showed me all the money they were making. But at the same time, you have to understand. And again, I have to give credit to the WWE, dude. I was on a pretty hefty, contract. I got paid every week for doing absolutely nothing, but get my life together. You know what I mean? And so, look, was I making, the millions and millions of dollars that everybody else was? No, but I wasn't traveling up and down the road. You know what I mean? So, but again, and that's why it's that thing where, and believe me, it's like coming back to this last WrestleMania in such good shape. All these years I thought I had dieted and worked out. Nothing compared to what I'm still learning stuff at 50 about how much I don't know and how much I didn't, that I can still appreciate things more. Again, it's like, I go back and I see what I did from 2002 on. I was given such a gift in that line of work. I think about the stuff that I did with you, and prior to that, dude, I did that stuff, and the stuff that came to my mind. Again, I was talking with Brian Gewirtz the other day, and he was talking about me, him, and Jericho, our storyline, and how he enjoyed that because it came up so unexpectedly, and it was something that nobody else wrote but the three of us because it wasn't supposed to happen. Jericho and I were supposed to be a one-off, and it ended up being like a year-long feud, and then got him so hot they put the belt on, so it changed all sorts of stuff. But no one else was writing it but us three because it just sort of happened week by week and how much he enjoyed that. But we just did it week to week. But I'd walk out and forget about it until the next week and didn't have any idea and didn't, and so I get that. I've always done this job like that, and it is a freaking miracle, and it's also, in a way, unjust that I've been able to do what I've done in this line of work and pay it so little attention. You know what I mean? And and just so you know, you were there when I was there, so you know that I paid attention to it in one very, and I like to think of the most important aspect, which is when I was there, I was all in. But everything else, I just sort of, for me, it's gone. It's the minute it's gone, it's gone. You know what I mean? And I've just never, I don't know. I've just nilly-willy gone through stuff, and so it didn't bother me one bit, man. I was done doing other stuff, and then I came back in 2002, and I thought, like, holy cow, what are the chances of getting another shot at this? Yeah. And it was the greatest thing in the world. But it never once, it never bothered me. I never resented anybody. When I came back, I heard guys. I eventually found out, like, holy cow, you guys made that much money? That's staggering. Right. You know what I mean? But it never occurred to me. I was so, I don't know, I guess overjoyed. Same way I am now. I got a good life, man. I got a wife that loves me. I got kids that love me. They're good kids. I get to go back and do stuff like you did yesterday. Dude, I get to reconnect with you. I got pictures of me and Mark and Kid and me and Nash and Hall. I went back yesterday. That was the greatest thing about yesterday, was seeing everybody, and we're all grown men now. You know what I mean? And we're all dads, and we're all just big wusses now. Yeah. That's the best. That's the best part of all of this. Yeah, is that we all survived it, and we're all in a good place. And again, like you said, me, Mick, and Steve. You do that 30 years ago, man, and it's a whole different ball of wax. Right. Right. But not yesterday. And that's just, it is the greatest place to be. And so it's, even though I didn't do it the same way that way, it's just, it's always been easy to sort of, I guess, slide off my back, because ultimately, and that's the thing. I've always, I think that's where that upbringing was always probably the best thing for me. I came back home and I was still Shawn.
Yeah.
Everybody, I've still got the same, group of friends that I've had for a long, long time in the same family. So, I'm pretty darn fortunate.
Yeah. Well, Shawn, listen, I told you over the phone when we set this up, I said, Shawn, listen, I want to talk to you about your life, everything that's going on, what you're interested in. I don't want to talk about wrestling. We spent a show and a freaking half talking about wrestling. Now I want to talk about Shawn. I want to talk about what really matters.
Yeah. Well, look, I live a pretty simple existence, man. I mean, we get up every day. My kids homeschool, and obviously it was great. Rebecca and I got to go, this was our 17th year wedding anniversary. Yeah. She and I, we spend it at WrestleMania darn near all the time. But we got to be together. The kids are so darn self-sufficient now. They stay at home and with her mom. And, we got horses, chickens, goats, dogs, cats.
Shawn, I gotta ask you this, though. I know now Cameron is 16.
Yep.
Your daughter Cheyenne, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Cheyenne. Yep.
12.
11. She'll be 12 this summer.
I gotta ask you this, bro, because I swear, Shawn, listen. Here's the thing that cracks me up. Your character was so freaking believable. That's why I gotta be honest with you. You were so good at what you did that, like, it's almost impossible to believe. I worked around guys that had egos that I could not believe. I can't even tell, civilians about the egos of some wrestlers because they wouldn't believe me. I've been around huge egos. You were so freaking good at what you did and so convincing to really understand that Shawn really, everybody's got a little ego, but Shawn really didn't have an ego. That's that's hard to understand because you were so good at what you did and your persona. On the other side of the coin, you got to tell me about Shawn Michaels, the father. What kind of a father is Shawn Michaels? Is he a disciplinarian? Does he drop the hammer? What's going to happen when Cheyenne starts bringing boys home? You got to tell me about Shawn, the father.
Well, look, I like to think. Look, that was one of the things that changed me. Obviously, I mean, holding my boy for the first time, and then reading all those books about fatherhood. I'm a pretty good dad. You know what I mean? I'm a cool dad, but at the same time, and Rebecca's helped a lot because I've got, my dad was pretty hardcore. But I mean, we disciplined pretty good, but Rebecca's, man, she's, half the time she's been the hammer, but they're good kids. I mean, we only have, she used to carry the belt in her purse and she just pull it out like this, and the kid, and that was it, and so, I don't, we have fun. I mean, but thing is, ton of communication. I mean, we talk to our kids. We got great relationships with them. I mean, we're open. I don't hide anything. I mean, when they were younger, certainly you don't go into detail about things. But I've never been dishonest, about my past with my children, and especially my son as he gets older. And Rebecca the same way. Look, we let them know. Look, we're two wretches that were so fortunate to find each other, and strangely enough, got our stuff together and have turned into some pretty decent people and pretty darn good parents. And she's a phenomenal mother. She ain't perfect. I mean, I know everybody that, again, they get her aspect from the book and the things I say about her. So she sounds angelic and wonderful. She is, man. She's a tough, hardcore Southern woman, man. But our kids have, they've been raised well, but at the same time, they're good. They're good people. I mean, they're responsible. I mean, but they still, look. I mean, they still mess up. They're still kids, but I wouldn't trade them for anything. And like I said, it's been an awesome journey, and we all try to. We try to. We take it together, and we're with each other a lot. I mean, because we homeschool, we have all been around each other a lot. We've never lived in big homes or anything like that. So we deal with each other on a day-to-day basis all the time. And for us, we've benefited from it.
Shawn, I want to talk about your Christianity. This is the last thing I want to talk about, and I wanted to talk about it last for a reason, because to me, I know to you, this is the most important thing. This is what I want the people to remember. It's like wrestling, Shawn. The last thing they remember on a wrestling show is the last thing they saw. Right. So I want people to remember this, because to me, this is life and death. It really is. Now, Shawn, I know you were raised Catholic, as was I. And being raised Catholic, I always believed in God. I always believed somebody was watching over me. But the way I describe it for myself is, I knew he was there, I believed in God, but I never stopped to really pay attention, let alone make him number one in my life. So, he was there, but Vince Russo drove the car. Okay? I mean, I was going to do things my way. And that's how I lived my life. It was about 14 years ago, Shawn, 2002. I mean, I'm 55 now, so, do the math. I was 41. I had made a lot of money in the wrestling business. I had been on TV. I had done it all. Shawn, I was absolutely miserable. Here's how I was trying to fill my holes, Shawn. I think you'll understand this. I kept setting goals for myself, thinking when you achieve the next goal, you're going to be happy. When you achieve the next goal, you're going to be happy. And Shawn, not to put myself over, I always achieved the next goal and was never happy. Finally, Shawn, I came to a place, and it's funny because it involved Jeff Jarrett, okay? And I knew Jeff, and I've known Jeff for years. Jeff was like a brother to me. I remember I was running a business at the time, and I was in the store by myself, and I had gotten into such a heated argument with Jeff that I really felt like my heart had turned black to the one guy that I loved probably more than anybody else in the wrestling business. I mean, Shawn, I was in my store by myself, and I'm telling you, man, people think I'm crazy when I tell the story. I don't care. I audibly heard, look at what you've become. Look at the person that you've become. And that day, God slapped me upside the head and basically said, okay, brother, you've wasted 41 years of your life driving the car, making your own decisions, not putting me first, and you're miserable. We're changing that today. And there was such a change in me, Shawn, and here's how I knew the change was real. It was coming from inside. It was nothing that I would have been able to control or change. It was all from within. Everything changed about me. Things that were so important were no longer important. They didn't matter. And all of a sudden, things that weren't important now meant the world. Putting people first became the rule in my life. I never did that before. But I also learned, this is how I knew it was real, Shawn, for me, is I tell everybody this all the time. Becoming a Christian was the hardest thing I ever had to do to this day, because I'm always going against the grain of what Vince Russo wants to do, of what the sinner wants to do, of what's use for me to do. I'm going against that grain of 41 years because now with God leading my life, I know what I have to do. It's not easy to do because, we have sinful natures. So every day it's fall off the horse, get back on. Fall off the horse, get back on. But I would not change it for the world. It changed me as a man. I'm just curious, Shawn. I've never heard your story directly from you. But was it an instant with you like what I experienced? Or did you feel it kind of came over time where things started changing for you?
Well, and again, unfortunately, I guess, a lot of people have heard this story, and I apologize, if it bores some people. So, but having said that, no, I mean, it happened over a period of time. Obviously, started with, again, with 14 and coming home and it being over and stuff like that. And obviously, and then meeting Rebecca and getting married. And then shortly after that, finding out we were pregnant, and of course, I was just crazy about her. And I go, again, it's like, and you go back and forth. You struggle with the wrestling business. Like, you've got these guys that, again, that, heck, I mean, and now, they and no offense to you podcast guys, but heck, you guys have them, you've given these guys, a platform, and and now they've got credibility. But guys, that got 18 years ago saying I married my wife because I got her pregnant, implying she's a whore, my son's a bastard, which is cruel and unusual. And you're not even in the wrestling business anymore. You know what I mean? It's like you're just trying to start new. You feel like the wrestling business is over, and you're just starting to start a new life. But it all started with her, meeting her, and I just, and for the first time ever, me finding out, oh my goodness, I've never been in love before, because I'm crazy about this girl. And then, of course, 6 weeks after we get married, we find out we're having a baby. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to get myself together. Crazy about her, but clearly I'm not well yet. The guy that I was, and I was, and again, I was still struggling and was even going to get, deeper at home with nothing but time on my hands. Anyway, but knowing I wanted to start a family and knowing what family meant to me, and church was a part of our family, was a part of my life. I was going to Catholic school, and we went to church every Sunday growing up, and, said prayers at dinner time and things of that nature. So there was an element that faith played, or that church played in our life. And I knew that needed to be something of mine. And so over the years, Rebecca and I discussed it, and our son's born, and like, holy cow, I really got to get it together. I gave myself 9 months, and I'm still not together. And then her going back to Bible study and just seeing the change in her as she did that. But it sort of started with our first sort of Christmas together. She got me these books. I always tell everybody it was Straight Talk Them In by Dr. James Dobson and A Tender Warrior. And so I just started reading these books, and they were talking about being a father, and it really put a microscope on how much I was falling short, and boy, it really bothered me. And all I could think about was that little boy, and the children to come. That, my goodness, I'm going to mess them up if I don't get my stuff together. Finally, I find myself in a parking lot of Cornerstone Church, and and we're trying to go back to church. We're trying to do stuff as a family. I'm feeling something's going on, but I don't know what it is, and I don't know how to do it. And Rebecca's not saying anything. So I'd heard the phrases. I'd seen those boxers after the match. I just want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for saving. I've seen that stuff, and it always sound like some kind of freaky cult thing. And, so I go, all I know is she's going to Bible study, and I'm seeing this change in her. And so I walk into Cornerstone, into their office, and I go, hey, how you looking for a Bible study? And, I always tell everybody, once they realized I wasn't there to rob the place, this guy sticks his head out of the office and says, you can come to mine Wednesday night, 7:30. Here's the directions to my house. And so I go over to his house on Wednesday night. And this whole time, something's going on with me. And the Friday night before I go, it's that next Wednesday, that weekend, I'm having one of my little Friday night get-togethers with myself, and I'm not in the greatest of shape. And my son's 2 now, and he's crawling on me, and we're just sort of playing. I hear him whisper, oh, Daddy's tired. And, of course, I wasn't tired. I just wasn't in great shape. And, man, it just ripped my heart out. And that was the day that I knew that this has got to stop. It's got to be over from this day forward. And I went to that Bible study, and the guy, asked me if or told me that I needed to be saved to be a part of this Bible study, and did I want to accept Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior? And I said, something I think I do. And he led me in the sinner's prayer, and I just wept like a baby. I mean, stuff flowing out of me. But I'm telling you, dude, bam, right then and there, I felt like a new man.
Yeah.
And I came home. I told my wife, "Oh my goodness, it's Jesus! I've been saved. It's born again. It's called Christianity." I mean, I've got all these answers, and she looks at me and she goes, "I know." And I was like, "What?" And she said, "Honey, I know." She said, "I've known this whole time." And geez, why didn't you tell me? She said, "Look, She said, "I felt if I pushed you, it wouldn't be real, it wouldn't be genuine. You'd be doing it for me." She said, "You needed to come about this on your own." And you know what? From that day forward, and again, it changed everything. I mean, I've never, and again, I've been accused of a lot of things, and people still don't like me, and because somehow after Christianity, you're then perfect and you don't make any more mistakes.
Right.
As far as the wrestling business is concerned,
Right.
and everything you do, you're a hypocrite. And even if you say no, even somebody could be looking at you and being rude and out of hand, but you say no and you're the jerk because I thought you were a Christian.
Right. Yeah.
First of all, I am. I never said I was a good one. I could go on record as stating that. But ultimately, the thing was that, and then getting with these people. They as it's called discipleship, but really knowing, because you have the whole relationship thing. I had a church life before. But I never understood. Again, the Christianity, and I understand why it's weird for some people because we got some weird things that that sound weird, and some of them are. But it's just about having being in constant sort of thought of I have a purpose and I have a responsibility. Mm-hmm. I've now got an accountability, and I don't know, that was just never there before, and now it is.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I can always sort of like think of like sitting there like I don't want to disappoint and again I still like I said I still mess up. I'm still not good with people sometimes because I don't and that's what's so funny. Everything again because I am the big ego guy, but I'm not a people person. I don't like being out much. Yeah. That's why I live in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? And that's why everybody thinks it's so weird. It's like you really are nothing like the dude you played on TV. Where it's like, no, I swear, again, it's again, no, I'm not. I don't like attention. You know what I mean? And that's again, doesn't bother me to wallow in obscurity. I don't it doesn't bother me at all. And so, but it was just the greatest thing ever. And as I say, and then our daughter Cheyenne came and went back to wrestling, and it is just something that sort of encompasses every aspect of our life. Again, we're not crazy Bible thumpers, but again, I wake up every day, and my wife and I come out here, and she has coffee, and I have my my energy drink, and we read our Bible, and it's again, it's part of our life. Our children do youth, and it's just I don't know, we pray together. I bless my kids, we go to church, and it's just an active, regular part of my life. But it changed everything. Boom. And again, it's something where, because I took responsibility. I had a checkered past, but again, it's funny because you got some guys, all the guys I used to run around with. But again, part of it is like you do interviews, you make buddies with the internet guys, your press changes considerably. All the guys that I used to run around with in the past, they had illnesses, and it's a sickness and it's a disease. Mine, I was just a prick. You know what I mean? That's how they defined me. You know what I mean? I wasn't the way I was because of the drugs, as far as they're concerned. These guys, it's just they get to play the victim card, but because I took the one step of Jesus, I don't get to play the victim card.
Right.
Because I keep and because I keep myself accountable. Look, it was nobody's fault but mine. I made the choice, and nowadays, you tell people that you don't get to play the victim card, or they don't spin it your way, so to speak. And if you do mess up, and if you're not nice all the time, you're a hypocrite. So it's but the thing is, if you're used to not winning in that world, you still go to not winning in that world. So nothing really changes.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't mean that not as a complaint. Look, God bless them. They have a right, to their opinions and to feel the way they feel. And I'm sure there's stuff about their life I don't understand. And so I don't mean to imply that I have any hard feelings towards anybody. It's just, it gave me just, it's funny because I was sort of ambivalent in what people perceived as disrespectful about the wrestling business anyway. And then once I really began to see that so many things in life weren't eternal, then I really got unfettered, as you said, as you stated earlier. The things that are supposed to matter don't matter, and now they really don't matter to me. You know what I mean? And so it's why again they don't even from a company standpoint, why would you? Well, you don't have to really leave on the career-threatening match. You can come back and whatever people do it all the time. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm done. And of course, but you've got more in you. Yes. Well, but you don't. If nobody. There's so much money to be made. I get that. I'll go without it. You know what I mean? And I know again in the internet world, because but you're set for life. There's no such thing as that. That's not true, and I'm not. You know what I mean? No, it's because I don't. I'm just not. I'm not putting my stock in that. You know what I mean? Either it provides or it doesn't. You know what I mean? We've had tough times before, but as you know, I mean, and you've been through them. He is faithful, and again, it isn't like we're destitute anyway. But it's been an awesome life, and I enjoy the things that go on, and that's all I'm doing now is just trying to see what is next for me. And right now it's the hunting show. Again, like you said, I mean, cheap plug here, I guess, but I got a new show coming up on the Outdoor Channel. I mean, it's unlike anything.
Wait a minute, before you get to that, Shawn, because I want to set that up on a silver platter for you. I got to point something out to you. Can I point out to you how God works? And you could be my witness to this. All right, bro? We've been trying to do this for probably the last 2.5 hours almost. All right? We've been talking about wrestling for a good portion of the show, and our internet connection has been cut off, Shawn, at least 10 times. Am I exaggerating? 10 times?
No. Yeah, at least. 10
times. Shawn has called back every single time. But yet, Shawn, here's the magic of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Bro, the minute you start talking about your testimony and we start putting him over, miraculously, no internet, no internet interruptions, miraculously, right, bro?
That's true. That is true.
Now, Shawn, I know, bro. I love the way you love hunting. I love how passionate you are hunting with the wife. You told me all about it. Now, I don't know if this is what you were going to talk about, but I know about the McMillan River Adventures. I know about that, but there's something else coming. Tell us everything you're doing, bro.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, Outdoor Channel, again, they got new folks in control, and again, we're going to be doing a show unlike they've ever done before. It's not a hunting show, but it's going to be taking me, I had no idea, and I'll just give a little bit of a hint. It's going to be coming in 2017, but I'm going to start filming it here pretty soon. But our country has some amazing myths and mysteries about it that I had no idea were there in various states across this country. Almost every one of them has got a fascinating sort of urban legend, so to speak. And we're going to go and investigate and find out some of these things and encounter some of these creatures, if you will, that are out there in the United States. And again, it's just they're different things that I had no idea about. And it just sounds like such a blast to me. It's so fun. Some of them, and the thing is, it's funny because some of them, honestly, it's when I was in high school, I was a huge horror flick fan. You know what I mean? And now I'm telling you, as I've gotten older, I've mellowed out so much. But I'm telling you, I can't watch them because again, there are certain things, as you know, one thing that comes with your Christianity is you start to understand spiritual things and a lot more validity to, an afterlife and spiritual anomalies and things of that nature. We've got, again, there's some stuff in this country that I didn't know, was out there. And I got to go and look for some of this stuff. And the thing is, some of it has got me a little the heebie-jeebies because you got to be doing it at night. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I got news for you. If you're down in a mine, so to speak, and I don't care if it ends up just being a raccoon. Raccoons are vicious, and if they're hungry or something like that's going on down there, it's going to be very exciting. But I'm a little freaked out by some of the stuff, that apparently goes on within this country that most of us don't know about.
Does this show have a title yet, Shawn? And do you know when it's starting?
No. Like I said, we are just now. We're going to go out and shoot the pilot here next month. It's going to be airing in 2017. I mean, we'll be doing, a big press thing when it happens. Obviously, McMillan River Adventure will start up at the end of this summer in July. Coming back for our 6th season with MRA on Outdoor Channel. But other than that, man, I mean, look, I do appearances. I do stuff with you. Going to start doing some speaking engagements and stuff like that. But I'm just really doing my best to enjoy and embrace the life of retirement and raising kids.
And tomorrow you got a big turkey hunting day.
Yeah. My wife and we're filming for MRA, and but my wife and I are going turkey hunting, for the next week. And again, I know how to show a girl a good time. 17 years of marriage, and she gets it celebrated by going on a turkey hunt with her old man.
Yeah, because it was you just had your anniversary, I think March 31st?
Yeah, March 31st. And I didn't even know it. Again, that's one of the things I learned from the internet. But March 31st is when I won my first championship in 1996 on March 31st.
Are you unbelievable? Look at that.
Years later, it's my wedding anniversary now.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, Shawn, listen, man. I really hope you know what this meant to me. You coming on my first 2 shows meant the world to me. And listen, Shawn, I know now. Like, bro, a lot of stuff, is water going down your back. I know that, but I got to tell you something, bro. It means a lot to me, that bro, you were the greatest I ever worked with. You were the absolute great, and bro, I worked with thousands. You were the great, bro. You have to tell me that means something. It's important to me that means something.
It does, and that's if I could say that. Because I think the term great and love and all those things are so overused.
I do too.
Our business more. But what matters to me is the guys. I don't care, and I don't mean disrespectfully to the fans, but I don't care what anybody thinks. The guys that I worked with, the guys that were in the ring with me, the guys that sat there and did creative stuff with me, the guys who, watched this work. If they feel like I brought something special to the table, that's all that matters to me, my peers. And that's, like I said, and it goes back to, again, like I talked about, like getting to touch base, find you again. You know what I mean? And again, like, you talked about Jeff earlier. I got to reconnect with Jeff not too long. I mean, Jimmy Garvin, seeing those guys, the whole thing, the relationship Taker and I have now, Steve and I have now, again, and of course all my buddies are still there, but to have the opportunity to reestablish so many of those old relationships that I didn't have, and for those guys to express, the kind things from your peers, that's the stuff you take with you. That's why, you enjoy the roar of the crowd and all that. But what's important to me is those things from my peers, the guys that, that felt like I did have something, to offer. That's what matters to me.
Yeah, I'm the same way, because you know what? Shawn, a lot of times, and I'm sure you go through this too, I'm here by myself. I start reading on the internet about what a terrible human being I was, and how I'm this and how I'm that. And a lot of times, bro, when you spend a lot of time alone, as I do with podcasting, that stuff kind of starts taking over your life, But it's like, Shawn, this Saturday I went out to the WrestleCon. And I saw all the glorious people that I got to work with. And, then you realize, what? This is what it was all about. Being in the trenches with all these people, and they love you, and you love them, and you respect each other. That's what it's all about. I got to see Kevin, and my biggest pop of the day was, him telling me how many money angles he's still working. Which, bro, I mean, sure, that's phenomenal to me. Like, that was worth my whole trip. Just getting Kevin, tell me all the money angles you're working, and my day is full. But you're right, bro. It's that close-knit family that at the end of the day, we know why we did the things we did, and we did it for each other.
Yeah, and again, it is. I mean, that's the thing. It's always a joy to see Kevin. He brings a smile on your face, and it's the same thing. Look, every time we have to, it's what we do. We go to those things, and it's great to be around the fans and the people that appreciated you. And nobody, it doesn't bother anybody to listen for 2 or 3 hours how, people tell you how wonderful you are. Even if, and I guess I always, because I don't ever let those things get to you. Because look, I'm the same guy that said horrible things about, my wife and unborn child, 18 years ago. Same guy that, whatever, he retweets a guy saying, Shawn's being a jerk at Access, and I hadn't even been there yet. I wasn't scheduled to be there till the next day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and look, again, the guys got them on their podcast every week. Those things are going to happen. And that's why I'm saying, just hold tight onto the, I don't know, dude. And that's why, again, I was happy about reconnecting with you.
Yeah.
You and I didn't always get along, but you know what? I remember that time. You know what I mean? And that was such a blast. And like I said, that's why I always tell people, you unleashed something. It was so great to be able to get. I'd have been worse. Let's put it that way. If I wasn't able to have that outlet, and you were a huge, huge part of giving me that outlet. You're the guy, that convinced them, let him do it, let him go, do this, he do that. He is digging this. He's having fun with it. And he's doing this well or doing that well. Let's have him do this. He'll love it. Don't worry, and that. I needed that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so again, and there's only so many guys really that grasp that aspect of me again. And thankfully, one of the guys is the dude that I worked for. That's one of the things that Vince always knew. Like he knew that he's a pain, but he needs we just got to steer him in the right direction. You let him do that. And I don't, like I said, I don't, I wish I could tell you why. I mean, I don't know. I just did, what I mean? It was all just sort of inside there. I just I had to get it out. You know what I mean? But again, I'm always so appreciative and thankful, for those guys. And then again, those same guys that I was in the ring with, I mean, even if they didn't like me in the locker room at the time, man, they trusted me in that ring, and my ideas and things of that nature. It was like, man, I don't know how that's going to work, but let's give it a whirl, man. And that meant the world to me. It still does. That's the stuff. That's the stuff that I dig about the wrestling business.
Well, Shawn, I hope you join us when your new show starts. I would love to talk about that. Now, can you give us your word? There's not going to be any instance on this new show where Shawn Michaels actually says, "Are you out of your mind? I'm not going in there." Will you do whatever they challenge you to do?
What? Yeah, you know what? I mean, although I'll say this, I'm like, I told him, look, man, hey, I'm not gonna. I didn't survive 25 years of wrestling just so I could get, I could fall off a cliff or something. So I mean, but I'm gonna do whatever. But I think everybody understands. Like, look, don't, I'm no good to anybody, in a hospital bed for heaven's sake. So, or killing off any amount of toughness I might have left. I'm gonna go for it.
So you won't be jumping 20 feet off Hell in a Cell anytime soon.
No.
All right, Shawn. Last but not least, anything? Listen, I know you're getting up to speed with technology. We just did Skype. We were able to reconnect 15 times. I know I talked to you here and there on Twitter. What do you want to promote? What's happening social media wise with Shawn Michaels?
Well, the thing, I got to be honest. I'm pretty proud of the things I've done social media wise. But one of the things that I think is neat. It's a new app. Score Sports, SQOR Score. But it's now, because the thing for me, I can do Twitter really easy, but Facebook, you got to do them separately. And with my Score app, what it is I can post stuff and it goes both to my Facebook.
Oh, I could use that, bro.
Yeah, and my Twitter. And the thing is, plus, you can do live chats on there. And for me, I never learned how to really do the Facebook thing and how to reply and do stuff back.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
Exactly. And my Facebook folks, some are very committed just Facebookers, and I'd like to go back and forth with them a little bit more as well. You know what I mean? So the Score app is a huge help in that respect. And plus, we're going to be doing a lot of giveaways. I mean, I'm going to be doing a lot of giveaways and stuff like that. And the few times I'm thinking about it, I haven't decided. But and of course, you got to pay attention to the social media. But I don't do a lot of the live tweeting and giving ass. I don't do anything about wrestling. But I'm thinking about doing some live chats during Monday Night Raw, or maybe during some pay-per-views, and finally again, if people care to hear Shawn Michaels' opinion on certain things, wrestling, then we'll be doing them through there. But it's something I think people ought to check out, because it's a great way to keep the Twitter and the Facebook, two different mediums up to par with each other.
Yeah, no, Shawn, that's great for me, because I constantly I tweet it, I copy it, I go to Facebook, I paste it. That's perfect for me. So how can we get the app again? Tell me one more time.
Well, it's Score Sports, SQOR.
Okay.
Score Sports, and it's their app, and like I said, it's just and I mean, you can do video on it, the pictures, and again, boom, goes out to both Facebook and Twitter. Just again, for me, just a huge lifesaver.
Shawn, man, thank you so much. Thanks for the years of just giving me the opportunity to work with somebody as great as you. I hope to have you on the show again, man. From the bottom of my heart, I love you, and I truly mean that, man.
Well, thank you, Vince. I appreciate it, brother. I love you, and anytime, dude. Anytime you need me, I'm a Skype call away.
All right, Shawn. Thanks a lot.
You bet.
It's right about time again to swerve again, confuse the general fans again. Add another swerve and then put it on a pole again. Put it on a pole again. Put it on the pole again. And our square to quad is gonna get emotional as I wait to overbook the damn